What's up, bodyweight warriors? Welcome back to another video and another follow along. Today I've got a 40-minute full body flexibility routine that's going to challenge you both actively and passively. All you're going to need for this one is some yoga blocks. It's definitely going to help out with a few positions. Apart from that, some time and space. And let's jump into this routine. We're going to kick things off from head to toe. We're going to start off with some neck mobilization. You don't need to be sat. How I can, you be standing, sat down on a sofa. Just get yourself comfortable and allow the torso to move freely. We're going to think about fixing our eyesight straight and then trying to disassociate what's happening at the upper body. So we're just going to try and rotate our torso or our shoulder around as far as we can towards us. And then we're going to rotate back to the other position. So we're kind of thinking that everything is rotating from the sternum, but the neck is going to remain still. That's going to help relax a lot of the muscles around the neck. So kind of pick a point in front of you, whether that's on the TV, on a wall, head height, and then just think about trying to rotate one shoulder forward as far as you can and the other one back. When I feel kind of the mid-back working, potentially as well the chest opening. I'm just going to do this for about 60 seconds, and what you want to do is kind of, as this movement is changing, you want to change your breath. So if we're inhaling, we're going to rotate in one direction, and as we exhale, we're going to reverse that motion background. It's a bit of a strange one, but you should feel that the movement shifts over towards the shoulders and the neck relaxes and you lose a bit of tension. Okay, one more side here. Perfect. We're going to take the left arm, we're going to place it behind the back. We're going to think about pulling this shoulder down and away from us. Just going to gently now begin to lean the head away from that shoulder, so towards the right hand side. We should be feeling a stretch over the shoulders. You can play a little bit with the angle that your head is at. So obviously you're going to feel you're going to look up, you're going to bring more of the stretch over the front into the scalenes. If you look down, it's going to go more into the traps. Just try to find the point in which feels right for you. And then you can place your hand on top and apply just a little bit of extra pressure. But we're not trying to rip our head off our socket here. It's just going to try and get into a reasonable stretch, so 6 out of 10 in terms of intensity. And some nice deep breaths. Okay, we're just going to swap to the other side now. So same thing, shake off the hand. Right arm goes behind, pull that shoulder down and away, pin the shoulders back, lean the head away. Try to feel the point in which you find the stretch that's right for you. And apply a little bit of pressure with the hand. Perfect. And from here, it's just some nice deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth, really expanding the ribcage. Beautiful. All right, let's shake those two off. We're just going to come into a quadruped position here. So on all fours, and we're just going to now try to integrate that neck with the spine. So again, thinking about the breathing, we're going to extend. So as we inhale, we're going to let the rib cage drop. We're going to arch the back as much as possible. Look up to the sky. And as I exhale, I'm going to try and round the back as much as possible. Push into the ground and tuck the chin. So we're just going to do 5 of these. Really just breathing it out. No rush here. 4 or 5 second inhale and exhale. Really feeling like you're pinching the shoulder blades together and back in the arching, and then when you round, you're going to let them fall apart. It's done before now. Remember just to also bring the head into the movement. We're trying to move the whole spine, so really tucking it as you come in. Further, we're going to take now our left arm and we're going to come onto our elbows. We're going to take this left arm, I'm going to internally rotate it. So I'm going to rotate my fist back towards me as much as possible. I'm going to grab the elbow with this other arm. I'm just going to apply a little bit of pressure. So I'm giving a little bit of assistance to pull myself into the stretch. And then from there, I'm just going to try and sort of shrug up and down and feel out any tight points. This is going to help mobilize that posterior shoulder capsule. So we're just sort of doing that same sort of feeling as we had in the cat-cow, where we're sort of retracting the shoulder blades, letting the shoulders come into the socket. We're then trying to push the shoulders away, letting the shoulder blades round. So we should feel kind of a stretch on the outside of the shoulder, maybe going into the upper back, maybe even in the front of the shoulder. But this can help just mobilize the posterior shoulder capsule and help us get better shoulder flexibility. It's a bit of a feeling one, you know, rotate the arm as you can do and just find the pockets that feel tight for you. Okay, just another 10 seconds here. And we're just shake it off and do the other side. So I'm going to take that right elbow and twist the hand as much as I can back towards me, grab it by the elbow. I'm just going to place a bit of pressure using my other hand, my left elbow, just to push further into internal rotation until I find a nice stretch going on the outside of the socket. And again, I'm just going to move around up and down, side to side, forward, backwards, just try to find that point of stretch, but always, you know, I'm still giving myself some support with this left arm. Not everything is on that right shoulder. And, you know, if you find a nice stretch, feel free to just hold that point. You don't have to keep moving about. And this can help really quite dramatically improve your overhead flexibility. If this is definitely a restriction for you, if you're not able to get sort of past like 45 degrees with this rotation inwards, then it definitely could be a limitation. Okay, right, shake both of those out. I'm going to come into a prone position now. So on the floor, lying face down, I'm going to take the left arm now out 90 degrees, bent to 90 degrees with the arm. And I'm just going to lead with my right foot and twist the torso into this left shoulder. So we're looking for quite an intense stretch over the pecs. So, as always, your body will follow where your eyes take it. So don't look at the hand. Try to feel like you're looking up towards the ceiling. Again, take a nice deep breath into the chest, and then we can apply just one rep of PNF here. So I'm going to think about pressing the elbow down into the floor. So I'm contracting the pec, the area of stretch. You know, build it up over about 5 seconds. So 5, 4, pressing down a bit harder, maybe working up to 50, 60% effort. 2, 1, nice exhale. And see if you can twist that a little bit more. Feel like the shoulders can pinch together backwards. And again, nice deep breath, and just try to exhale and relax. Just another 10 seconds here. Okay, we're going to return to the center position. We're going to perform the exact same thing on the right hand side. So right arm out to 90, bent to 90. Use the left leg to lead you over, pull you into the stretch. Left arm is pressing down as well. You're going to try and find that point of stretch again, looking, kind of feeling the eyes lead towards the sky. And we can perform another rep of PNF here. So think about pressing the elbow down into the ground, contracting the chest, contracting the area of stretch. Building up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to try to relax a little bit further. Let that left leg pull you around a little bit more. And again, deep breaths into the chest. Expand the chest and then exhale and try to soften the shoulder towards the ground. We'll do another 10 seconds here. Perfect. We're going to do a final warm-up stretch. Come back onto the knees. We're going to walk both the hands forward. I'm just going to think about sinking the chest down towards the ground. So we're going to stretch over the lats here, but we're also going to open up the spine into extension. So again, nothing too intense here. We're just going to keep walking the hands forward and then trying to think about pulling the sternum, so the center of the chest, down towards the ground. And again, just some nice deep breaths. So try to couple kind of a nice deep inhale, thinking about expanding the rib cage. And as you exhale, try to pull yourself deeper down. Perfect. All right, we're going to take a short pause. The final little bit of the warm-up. I'm going to come onto a seated position, hands behind us, fingers facing away. I'm going to walk back into German sort of sit position, so shoulder extension now. A little bit of a stretch over the bicep. Pushing the floor away, extended through the back. Okay, so now we have warmed up the shoulders a bit. We're going to do a couple of rounds of actively lifting into a stretch position, so strengthening the range, and then using that to stretch a little bit more and move further into it. So we're going to look first overhead, and then we're going to look at opening up the chest and the biceps. So the first one we're going to do, we're going to be in that prone position again. We're going to be lying face down on the ground. We're going to take a Y position with the hand. So not directly overhead in front of us. We're going to go maybe 15 degrees out to the side. We're going to lift in a thumbs up position. I want you to think about trying to tuck the pelvis in. So squeeze the glutes, press the hips into the ground. And then from there, you're going to try and lift your hands up as high as you can. So we're looking here to feel the middle of the back, the traps, working as hard as you can. So, ready? Tuck the hips, head on the floor, lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feel like that was a little bit less than 5 seconds. So lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower traps doing the work here. Last rep. 5, 4, high as you can. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. When I come back up, back to what would be a cat position. So rather than last time, we are passively just dropping as far as we can do. I want you this time to think about tucking the sternum in and then actively contracting the lats. So I'm pulling myself almost like I'm holding a bit of a straight arm plank. I'm just going to let my hands walk out as far as I feel that I can maintain the connection and the strength. Pressing down to the ground, so I should feel the lats working. Try to keep the hips tucked. Keep letting the hands slide as far as you can do. Pulling the sternum away from the ground. Just another 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. And then come back to that lion position. You're going to take both arms now. We're going to finish this with a stretch. Little trifecta, 3 combination. Hands interlinked together. You're going to try and press the elbows apart so they're kind of in line. Elbows in front of you. So this is kind of like a prone butcher's block. And then think about pulling the sternum in and trying to get the shoulders down to the ground. So I'm pulling my chest away, pressing my shoulders down. So we should be feeling a stretch in the rear delts, the posterior shoulder, but also the lats and maybe the triceps. So again, this is sort of active, but it's more just to allow us to focus on where the stretch is happening. Again, try not to lose the breathing too much here. You can take some time to think about some nice deep inhales and exhales. Perfect. So we let a little bit of a relax, shake off the arms, and we'll do the exact same thing now. But we're going to do it in a T position. So the Y position here, 15 degrees. Now I'm going to come to 90 degrees. Same thing though, we want the thumbs to face upwards. Head's going to be supported, and we're going to try and lift those hands as high as we can. But we're going to think about what often will happen is that thumb will just want to creep in and move to internal rotation. We want to keep maximum external rotation, so thumb's always facing up, and straight arms lifting as high as you can. Okay, when you're ready, 3 reps. Lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you should notice that over that 5 seconds, you're able just to lift a little bit higher just by bringing your awareness to what you're doing. Lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last rep here. So maximum external rotation, thumbs up to the sky. Lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. We're going to lift ourselves up, flip over, back to that tabletop position now. So seated, feet in front, hands behind, fingers facing away. We're going to think about actively pushing down into the mat, retracting our shoulders, lifting the chest, and then using the glutes and extend upwards. So we're going to focus on just holding this position initially, thinking about pushing as much as away with our hands. So we're trying to lift the chest, the sternum as high as possible. And if this is not enough of a stretch, we're going to try and shift those knees forward, or you can think about pushing the floor away behind you to increase the stretch over the front of the shoulder. So it's again an active position like the cat stretch. So should be hard, should be challenging a little bit to hold. Keep shifting the knees as far forward as you can do, or as your flexibility allows. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to a seated position. We're going to keep this position. We're going to keep the stretch over the chest and the biceps. We're just going to allow the hands to go out. So we're going to go to a slightly wider position. You can bend the arms slightly, and then use the back to roll the shoulder blades backwards and open the chest. And then as you wiggle your hips forward, you should be able to feel that stretch now going a little bit more into the chest. Opening up. Again, some nice deep breaths. This is the relaxing part. If you can do, just keep wiggling the hips away. Beautiful. Okay, take 10 seconds. There's the upper body section done. It should have been somewhat challenging. We're now going to focus our attention a little bit further down into the lower back, into the hips. And we'll do some channel favorites, which are the hip swivels. So seated, hands supported behind you, and then you're going to focus on dropping both legs to one side. So one leg into internal rotation, one into external rotation. Keep the sternum facing forward, back to the middle, back to the side. This one isn't supposed to be hard. We're just getting some movement into the glutes, into the hips, into the lower back. We need 10 in total. So that's 5 per side. We're on 2. But in your own time. That's number 4. Number 5 on the right hand side. We're going to finish on the left hand side. So roll over. Become a bit more of a seated position. I'm going to take my left leg, kind of cross it across my body, and then I'm going to take the right leg and I'm going to place it over the knee of the other side. So we're kind of in a cross leg position, but not quite. We'll have this knee facing upwards. I'm just going to try and now sink my left shoulder down and hug that right leg. So I'm thinking initially, sternum is going over the knee, and this is going to create a stretch over the glute or the posterior hip capsule. So we've done the posterior shoulder capsule, and we're doing the posterior hip capsule. It's going to vary depending on where the restrictions lie for you, but we're just focusing on feeling a general stretch in that right hip. So there's a couple of things. We're going to hold this one for about 90 seconds in total. So play with it a little bit to find where the stretch is right for you. One option is to feel, once you've got this nice hug, let the knee drop a little bit. So you're twisting kind of on top of the other knee, rotating around kind of onto this lower shin. That might change the stretch. The other option for you is start from a higher position and we try to feel like we can drop that left shoulder down towards the ground. Again, just trying to think about hugging this knee nice and tight. If you're miles away from it, focus on just trying to hug sternum to knee to begin with. Apart from that, get something that's about a 6 out of 10 in terms of discomfort, and we're just going to hold it. After that rambling, we've probably only got about 30 seconds left. And again, nice deep breaths. With this one, I like to think about sort of breathing right down into my abdomen, into the area of stretch, and that's like the right-hand corner of your abdomen. Okay, we're going to swap sides. So we're going to take the right leg, cross it over the front of us. We're going to take the left leg, step over the right knee. Same thing. We're going to start with sternum towards the knee. Try to hug the leg. Get into a bit of a stretch. You might find that one side feels a little tighter than the other. Absolutely fine. You may want to spend, just like pause the video, spend a little bit of extra time on that tighter side, however unpleasant it may be. And again, play with those two options. So we can think about kind of leaning a little bit over the bottom leg, over the shin, and leaning into this hip. Or I can kind of lean away from it and drop the shoulder down towards the ground. For me, actually, the shoulder down towards the ground feels the best. The worst, but the best, you know, as stretching should feel. Same thing again here. We're just going to focus on breathing. Think about breathing down into the belly, into that sort of bottom left hip, and then exhaling. And as you exhale, try to hug yourself a little tighter, try to drop a little bit deeper. Okay, last breath here. Cool. We're going to come back to quadruped position now. So this one's a little bit unusual, and it might take a little bit of playing just to find the right stretch. So we're going to start with the left-hand side. I want you to try and just do a knee raise as far as you can, kind of keeping the hip and everything else in the same position. We're then going to drop that leg down onto the ground. You're going to take your right hand knee and you're going to place it over the foot. So we're kind of creating a bit of a twist. From here, feel that you're dropping your right hip down towards the ground and kind of leaning a little bit into this left hand hip. The same as the cat-cow earlier, we can think about rounding the back, but we can think about arching the back. So we arch the back and kind of push into this rear hip capsule. And then you can round. We're not necessarily looking for the most stretch. If you're going to feel a stretch, it's going to be over kind of the glute med, so the outside of the hip. Some people will, some people won't. What we're thinking about doing is just trying to disassociate what's happening at the lower back and what's happening at the hip. So understanding how to bring movement into the hip, then we're going to increase our flexibility. So just spend some time rocking backwards and forwards, trying to arch back as much as possible, and trying to round the back as much as possible. Again, just pushing the hip kind of in different directions and trying to feel where maybe that tightness lies for you. Cool. And I come back out. We do the same thing on the right hand side. So quadruped position, lift the knee as high as you can do while staying stationary. Drop it down towards the ground, let the foot come in a bit. The knee goes over the other foot and try to then push it back. And again, we're looking for a little bit of a stretch over the outside of the glute. And this will be one of the ones where if you do have a big difference between sides, you might notice a big difference. Push back, find a stretch, and again, just think about rounding the back or rotating the hips. Back and forward. We're just fixing everything else in place so that only the hips can move. So this is one of those ones where you might not feel a stretch now, But when you come to some of the stretches later, like the hamstring stretches, you will feel an improvement. So last few seconds here. Just trying to rotate that pelvis. And then we're going to look at improving internal rotation of the hips. So we're going to perform a similar sort of drill where we're thinking about the movement happening at the hips. For this one, I would recommend that you want a yoga block or a couple of yoga blocks. We're going to sit in a W position. So we're going to go kind of kneeling a little bit wider, and we're going to let the feet turn out, if they can do, onto the toes. As we drop back, we're going to let the hips drop to the center. So we're kind of rolling the legs inwards, and this is going to give us that internally rotated position. So the reason I've got these yoga blocks here is it's kind of like a point of reference, a target, and we can just then support ourselves. Think about the same thing. So I'm thinking about arching my back. So I'm going to rotate the pelvis forward, and I'm just going to try and push the hips back as far as I can, find the point of stretch, and then come back out. If I turn to the side, you better see a bit better. We are going to do this for a total of 60 seconds. So again, let the knees go wide, feet turned out, support yourself with the hands, and then as you come down, try to think about arching the back and letting the sort of the hips drop into the center. This one, again, this is not about who can go down to the bottom or who can get the most range of motion. This is about getting the stretch and getting the movement in the hips, which is exactly what we're looking for. Over just some reps, you're able to get just that little bit deeper. And again, maybe it doesn't feel super pleasant at the time, but when we come to some later stretches, I'm sure you'll feel an improvement. Okay, right. One way to test this is right now we're going to hop into what would be a sort of standing pike position. But this time we're just going to fold ourselves forward, allowing the knees to bend, allowing the stomach, if we can do, to rest on the legs. Hands supported. If you're miles away, can't touch the floor with your standard pike, grab yourself some supports to help with this one. And then we're just going to go from that bent leg position. We're going to push one leg straight, and we'll try and pull the other knee forward. So we get hamstring stretch here, no stretch on the other side. Tilting of the hips, we're going to then reverse that. So bend the left knee, straighten the right leg, and pause for a few seconds on each one. I'm just going to walk back and forth. And this again, we've covered basically all the different movements of the pelvis. So now we're getting a bit of tilting, but we're also going to be loosening up the hamstrings as well for our pike. As well, we're going to perform this for 60 seconds in total. I think by now we're probably about 30 seconds with all the rambling that I've done. Just keep moving back and forward. And if you can do over this duration, try to drop the hands down a bit lower or drop more into that pike position. Again, we're not looking to max out here. We're just looking to kind of grease the groove. And then like before, we're going to do a bit of active work followed by some stretching to make the most of that improved range of motion. Okay, let's put those blocks to one side. We'll walk on forward into an upward dog position. So just letting the hips relax. And again, sort of rolling the pelvis back and forth. Okay, so this one, I will pre-warn you, probably is not going to be super fun. This is going to be quite crampy, but it's the nature of the game. We're going to start and do some pike core compressions. I'm sure lots of people have seen these ones in the past. We're sitting forward. We're using the hip flexors, using the core to try and lift the legs up and actively use our hamstring flexibility. We're going to do things slightly differently in this video. So we're going to get ourselves into an advantageous position to begin with. So again, hands are going to be in the same place, but kind of do a point in which you feel that you can't quite reach. We're going to tuck the legs up. So we're in a bent leg position. This should make it a bit easier to hold. Same thing, so we're going to try and push into the ground with our hands, lift up with our knees, and then we're going to go and try and lower as slow as possible into a straight leg position. We're going to try and keep it as high as we can. We're going to try and take 5 seconds to basically extend those legs out straight, and then if you're kind of up here or a bit higher, you can then think about walking the hands as you lower down towards the ground. So 3 reps, 5 seconds, make it hard. So let's push into the ground lift the legs, straighten them out tight as possible, and then just walk the hands out, lower down. Try to keep the hands a bit further away as we repeat those reps. So bend legs, lift, straighten out, nice slow down. And try to sort of bring your torso with you, keeping this gap as tight as you can. One more rep here. So, straighten them out. Stay forward. All the way down to the ground. Okay, let's go to a standing pike, because this is going to be the position in which we have the most advantageous to stretch those hamstrings. Let's fold forward, straight legs this time, as deep as we can. So if you can't comfortably touch the ground, get those supports to help you out. We're going to do 2 efforts of PNF. So the first one, we're going to use the hip flexors and the core again. I want you to think about pressing with the hands into the ground as hard as possible. Contract the hip flexors, contract the core when you're doing this. I'm going to do 5 seconds, but really build it up to a nice high intensity. So press, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We exhale. We're trying to relax a bit deeper. Okay. Second rep we're going to use the adductors. I want you to place your hands between your knees, and then I want you to think about trying to pull those knees in together, and your hands are going to resist. So I'm actively pulling into my hands, or I'm trying to pull my knees out, and then I'm using my adductors to try and pull my knees in. Again, build up 5 seconds to kind of as hard as you can. So pull those knees inwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, and try and exhale and relax a bit deeper. A nice deep exhale again. Move around a bit if you want, but keep those legs straight this time. Looking for the most stretch over the hamstrings. So another 10 seconds here. So you can either hang out, let gravity do its thing, or using the hands, provide a bit of assistance and pull yourself deeper into the stretch. Okay, let's walk up. We're going to do an upward dog. We'll do some of the opposite. Look to just stretch out the hip flexors, the core a little bit. And we're going to go and stretch them properly next. So we're going to start with the left-hand side. So we're going to come into a lunge position. We're going to take your right leg forward, left leg back. We're going to start a bit more upright. Key to the hip flexors is having this posterior pelvic tilt. So we've been thinking a lot about arching the back and tilting the pelvis forward. We're going to do the opposite here. When you think about tucking the pelvis under, if you imagine there was a bowl of water, try to spill water out behind you. So tuck it under. This glute is engaged. We're just going to try and shift forward, keeping this hip position. So I'm keeping those hips tucked. I'm shifting as far forward as possible, stretch over the hip flexor, and then coming back out. We're just going to do 5 reps here, really focusing on not just coming into it and feeling my back arching and losing all of that connection. So tuck the hips under, shift forward as far as you can into a nice hip flexor stretch, and then back out. You can use the hand to assist if you want on the front leg. So it's 3, we're going to do 5 per side. Really be diligent here. And last one, tuck those hips, squeeze the glute, and then think about the glute pushing you down into this stretch. Okay, let's go to the right hand side. Left leg comes forward. Same thing now. Tuck the hips under, squeeze the glute, push the hips forward. Again, like if I can go further, I'm going to lose that position. I really want to think about that tucked position as going as far as I can, maintain it. It's about using your own strength and feeling to create a better stretch. Hips tucked. Again, we're going to do 5 reps. Don't worry, there'll be plenty of time to go nice and deep and get a deep stretch. Last rep here. Cool. Okay, I'm going to take a little 20 seconds in between. I want to do this in a nice tailor pose. So come to a seated position, grab the feet in, Knees drop to the side, little wiggle, little wobble to each side. It's a light stretch for the adductors, so I'm going to grab my feet, I'm just going to press with the elbows. We're going to come to the adductors at the end, but at the moment we're just taking a little bit of a break because we're going to do another active position, this time for the hip flexors. All right. Nice adductor stretch in this one. Okay, we're going to go back to that lunge position. We're going to do left leg back, right leg forward. So right leg forward, lunge. We're going to come to hands on the floor position. You're going to think again about that glute position. So I'm squeezing my glute first, I'm tucking the hips round, and then I'm going to try and lift this leg as high as I can. So I'm contracting the hamstrings and the glutes to open my hip in extension. Now, I'm sure like most people, just got some cramp in the hip, absolutely fine. Shake it off. Build up slowly, so if you just only lift a little bit, that's absolutely fine. We're thinking about that connection of the glute, the position of the hip, a little bit of a stretch over the hip flexor, but we're really thinking about the quality here. So I can lift my leg up like that, but I'm pulling my hip completely out of the stretch. So again, 3 reps, 5 seconds, try to lift that foot as high, close to the bum as possible. So 5, 4, 3, keep the glute squeeze, 2, 1, let it down, again, shake it off, let the hip drop a bit deeper. If you need a pause because you're cramping, absolutely fine. Okay, let's lift again, lift, squeeze, 4, 3, 2, 1. This one is definitely worse than the Pike. Okay, last one. Lift up, squeeze the glute, push the hip forward. 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice, we're going to stay on this side. I'm going to keep this kind of as that superset. If you lean back, think about lifting that foot again. You're going to grab hold of it this time, if you can do. And we're going to shift forward again with the hips. And we're thinking about dropping this left hip down towards the ground. Now, you can adjust the intensity of the stretch here if this feels okay. We can think about pulling that foot closer towards the glute. So this should now give you a good stretch over the quad, over the hip flexor. If you're still not feeling it, if you need more, come a bit more upright. That's going to make it that much more intense. But again, don't come out of the stretch when you come more upright. Really think about sinking that hip down and getting nice and low to the ground. We're going to hold this one for a total of about 45 to 60 seconds. And really just thinking about getting that hip as low as possible, as down to the ground as possible. Pulling that foot in if you can do. See how deep you can go. Nice. Let the foot go back. Going to rock out of this one. I'm going to swap to the other side. So right leg back, left leg forward. We're going to repeat that exact same process. So you know the drill. 3 reps, 5 seconds. Trying to lift that foot as high as possible. So lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax down, shake it off. Again, if this one feels a little bit easy, think about bringing yourself more upright. Grab some yoga blocks, that'll make it harder. Second rep. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Same thing, try to stay in the stretch as well, in between. Okay, last one. Deep breath, 5 seconds, and we're done. 5, 4, 3, squeeze the glute, 2, 1. Did I say we're done? It's probably not quite fair. Right, reach back, left hand grabs that right foot, and we're going to try and shift forward with that right hip. Pull that right foot towards the glute. And again, adjust to the point in which the intensity is right for you. So start with pulling the leg in, keeping the hand low, and then if you can get higher whilst not moving out of the stretch, that is the ideal. So again, 45 to 60 seconds we want here. And try not to lose that breathing. Keep the breathing nice and soft. Inhaling down into the belly, this sort of right into the bottom of the stomach, into the hip flexor. Exhale. As you exhale, try to shift deeper. So whether that's the hip going lower, you standing more upright. I do promise though, we're almost at the end. A little bit longer here. Oh man, beautiful. Okay. So we're going to finish with a little bit of the adductors. We're going to take a frog pose position. So whereas before with the W sit, we were just outside of our hip width, we're going to go as wide as we can now with the knees. So if you come down onto your elbows, we can think about pushing those knees out. Get them nice and wide. And again, we're going to be feeling a good stretch over the adductors. Now, key here, again, all in the hips. So I want to think about arching the back, trying to anteriorly tilt the hips. So sort of think pulling the belly button towards the ground. Guarantee that's going to increase the stretch for you. You can move backwards and forwards a little bit. So in and out of the stretch. Move around. And be right in the groin, right in the adductors. I'm going to add a little bit of rotation of the spine as well. So we're going to start with the left-hand side. So whilst I'm here, I'm going to try and drop my left shoulder to the ground. I'm going to try and reach that hand through. So I've got the right hand here, which is assisting. And I'm just going to try, again, the body will follow where the eyes go. I'm going to try and twist and look around up towards the sky. We're going to do a nice deep inhale. So deep inhale into the spine. As I exhale, I'm going to try and just twist around. Two nice, deep, long breaths. Beautiful. We come back out. Back to that kneeling position. We do the same. So I'm going to take my right shoulder now, reach that right hand out to the side. Left hand is assisting. It's going to help me rotate that a little bit more. Again, 2 nice deep breaths. So deep into the spine. Exhale, look up towards the sky. One more. And bring the feet in. Come back to the elbows for a second. Come a little bit out of it. Right, we're going to finish up a little bit of niceness. And we're going to go into just a lying position. So you want to grab yoga block just for the head. I'm going to come into a completely prone position. I'm going to bring myself back into that diamond. So I'm going to let the knees drop to the side. I can place the arms wherever I want to place them overhead. I might get a bit of a stretch over the pecs. But this is mostly about sort of feeling yourself getting pulled down into the mat. And you can hold this one kind of as long as you want to. We're going to do about 60 seconds here. We're going to do 30 seconds in this position. Again, I'm not trying to put any additional force here. I'm just letting gravity pull my knees down, pull my hips into the mat, and the same with the shoulders. Try to return a little bit of awareness to the breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. I know there's some more intense points in this routine, so you know, it's understandable that you're holding your breath or you're not breathing perfectly. But on those relaxed stretches, it can really help to bring back to the awareness of the breath. Big, deep inhale, and then when you exhale, moving deeper and further into a stretch position. Okay, the other position we're going to take now is we're going to lift the feet up. We're going to lift them, walk them out to the side, so they're outside the hip line. I'm just going to let, again, gravity do its thing, let the hips drop to the center. Now we're getting a bit of stretch and internal rotation, maybe a little bit deeper into the hip. The same thing, just let gravity pull the knees in and hips down towards the ground. Right, I'm going to leave you guys to breathe there and sit there, but perhaps have a think about this routine. If there's any particular points that maybe you struggled with, I would say all of the parts are about equal difficulty in terms of ability in each respective bit. You know, maybe that's a point for you to work on if you need more shoulder flexibility for your sport, whatever it is that you want to improve. The same goes for the hips. As always, I read all of the comments, so please let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this routine and if you have any requests for future ones. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank the Dolomites for being absolutely spectacular scenery. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a strong week.